Hello, 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 and welcome to the marvelous Monday broadcast of Miss Hope's Reading Hour. So glad to be with you all on this wonderful spring evening. It is a very nice day outside. I went outside today and I was like, oh, it is very nice out here. So, here in Philadelphia, it is, I would say, close to 70 degrees. I was like, oh, how nice. I didn't realize how warm it was because sometimes, in your house, it can be a little cooler or a little hotter than it is outside. So it was a little cooler in here during virtual school this morning. But after school was over and I went outside, as soon as the sun hit my skin, I was like, oh, let me just stand out here for a few minutes. Let me just be out in the sun. So, hopefully, you all had a wonderful spring break. Hopefully, you all enjoyed your Easter. And welcome back to the week. Welcome back to school. I know from one of my friends that her son's school, their spring break actually started this past Friday. So, spring break last week, well, the week before, some of the young ones were on spring break. Then this past week, we were on spring break. And now, this week, another group of schools is on spring break. Okay? So, whenever your spring break was, I hope that you all, young ones, older young ones, parent friends, teacher friends, parent teacher friends, and everyone who is a part of the Miss Hope's Reading Hour family, I hope that you enjoyed your break. And if you didn't have a week-long break, I hope that you enjoyed your weekend. Okay? So, my weekend was pretty good. It did involve a lot of reading and a lot of homework. Okay? But I remember telling you guys that that's how it was going to be. And I knew it. So I was okay with it. I got a lot of work done. Give myself a pat on the back. So I didn't get everything done. But I'm working on getting it all done. It's a lot of reading, y'all. So, though I read for you all, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Miss Hope, I always was able to comprehend what I read, and I was always able to read what I read very well. My only issue, well, not only, but my issue was reading speed. Like, I would read really slow, and sometimes if I read something and then had to go back to it, if I was reading a book, I would have to go 3 or 4 pages back because I didn't retain it all. It's kind of like if you take a straw and you put it in water and then you put your finger on top of it and then you lift it out. You know how sometimes some of the water comes out the bottom? That's how it was for me reading. Sometimes it got hard for me to hold all of the information that I had. So I would have to go back and read some more. So one thing that would help me when I was your age is that I read out loud to myself. I literally read out loud to myself. So when I was in middle school and I was in high school, when I was in college, and even now that I'm back in college, I don't read as loudly as I used to out loud to myself. Like now I can kind of whisper and sometimes just move my lips. But reading out loud to myself actually helped me to be able to retain all of the information and all of the parts of the story that I needed to remember. And even when I was reading for enjoyment, a lot of times it would help me to remember what happened in the story. And then I would be turning back like, oh, I got to get back to that part because I have time to finish reading part of the story. Like where for my sister or my brother, it would take them like that to read a book. But for me, it would take me where it would take them a few days or a week. It would take me a week or a few weeks to finish a book. So it would help me when I started reading out loud to myself. So that's a little insight into Miss Hope and her reading journey. And just to let you know, as much as I love reading for you all every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I consider it an honor to be able to come into your homes through the computer or through your phone to read for you. I didn't even realize until I was reading for my assignments this week that me reading for you is actually helping me too, because I'm reading out loud more. Didn't even realize it. And reading for you helps you. Do you want to know how? Because if there are some words you've never heard of or things you never knew about, just by hearing about it when people read aloud to you, it helps you to say, what's that word? I wonder what that means. I wonder what that is. Maybe I'll look it up. Maybe I'll buy that book to have it for my own so I can learn too. And we have some books today, okay, that you will want to get so you can learn some things too, okay? So, just one last story before we get to the books. I remember when I was younger. I don't know if I told you this story before, but there were these popsicles, these I don't remember what they called them, but it was like a double popsicle and it had two sticks. And I remember on the wrapper it said a quiescently created confection. And I was like, oh, what does quiescent mean? Quiescently? That is like $1,000,000 word. What does that mean? And so I remember at my house when I was little, we had this huge dictionary. I mean, it was big. It was big dictionary, right? And so I went and I looked it up, and it means perfectly. A perfectly frozen created confection. So I was just like, sometimes I would just want to say the word quiescently because it sounded so awesome. But when you think about it, there's some words that we read every day or that I read for you, and you may want to know what those words mean. I would encourage you to go and find out, okay? Now, that's the end of my stories, but just to let you know how reading is important to me too. Not just because it's a great thing to do, but because I had to learn how to do it better. And it's helped me. And because it's helped me, I want to help you. Okay. So now let's get through our disclaimer very quickly. The wonderful music that you will hear and the great, awesome books that we will read today. Unfortunately, Miss Hope's Reading Hour does not own the rights to them, but they are here for your listening and reading enjoyment. Now, let's get to the books. So, our first book, if you noticed from the teaser, we're talking about springtime, everything growing and sprouting and seeing the animals that we weren't able to see in the winter time. So, did you know that you could be a champion for nature and the environment and the earth? We will be talking about that today on Miss Hope's Reading Hour. Our first book, The Earth and I. The Earth and I by Frank H. or Ask. If I butchered it, I'm sorry. That's his last name. Somebody tell me how you pronounce it. If I pronounced it wrong, I apologize. So, The Earth and I, we will be reading this book today. And we have a book, and we've had a few of these books where we will not get through it all today. We'll have to continue it on another day, okay? And this book is called Old Enough to Save the Planet. Be inspired by real life children, young ones, taking action against climate change, wanting to save the planet. This book is written by Lowell Kirby, illustrated by Adelina Lirius. Old Enough to Save the Planet. And, of course, last but not least, more about our girl Patina. She finally made it over to Becca's house. I'll tell you about what happened in the beginning when we get to the chapter book, okay? All right. Excuse me. Now for our first book, The Earth and I, by Frank Ask. I hope I didn't butcher it. This is a Harcourt Brace and Company book. The Earth and I are friends. Sometimes we go for long walks together. I tell her what's on my mind. I've done that before sitting outside. She listens to every word. Then I listen to her. Oh, weather's changing. Look at that. Do you like the rain? Do you like the thunder and the lightning? I don't mind thunder, but I'm not a fan of lightning. So then guess what? It's raining really hard. You gotta go inside. But you can still admire the rain falling on the earth. The earth and I are friends. Look at that rainbow after the rain. I love to see rainbows. We play together in the backyard. I help her to grow. Oh, I remember doing a whole lot of that last year. She helps me to grow. That is the best part of growing stuff, when you get to taste it and eat it. I sing for her. And she sings for me. I love the sound of birds, especially in the morning. When it's dark and you know that it's morning, I dance for her. And she dances for me. Sometimes that's fun. Sometimes not so much when you gotta go back and get those leaves. When she's sad, look at that. When she's sad, I'm sad. I feel you. I hate to see trash on the ground. Oh, but there is something you can do to make the earth happy again. When she's happy, I'm happy. I would beg to say that when she's happy, we are all happier. The earth and I are friends. The end. What a beautiful story. Short and to the point. But let us know that we can be friends of the earth as well. Help to take care of it. The earth lets us know when it's not happy. And we can do as much as we can to make sure that it is happy for us and happy for everybody else. All right, let's get to our next book. Old Enough to Save the Planet. Be inspired by real-life children taking action against climate change. Written by Lol Kirby. I love this picture. Isn't that pretty? It's beautiful. It's a beautiful picture. This book is a Magic Cat publishing book. Calling all activists. Hi, I'm Callan. At 9, I started to worry about climate change in the future, but I didn't know what I could do. Marching in the first People's Climate March changed my life. I was surrounded by art and funny signs. People were dancing, playing instruments, singing, and chanting. I realized that I already had skills that could help change the world. Anything I could do would contribute. Through Parachutes for the Planet, with the Mother Earth Project, I worked with thousands of kids all around the world who use art with their friends and families to explore and share concerns about the future. Now, I'm helping to build the global climate strike community with Fridays for Future. Greta Thunberg says, "You are never too small to make a difference." I say, everyone is a change maker. Your work starts with those around you. I can't wait to see how you change the world for the better. Co-founder Callan Benson, co-founder of Fridays for Future. 9 years old. Any of you 9-year-olds out there, you can be a change maker. Let's look at some of these amazing young ones. I'm big enough to save our trees. Felix from Germany was concerned about the vast number of trees being cut down all over the world. When he was 9 years old, he launched Plant for the Planet to get school children all around the world to join together and plant new trees in their own countries. His idea was so successful that a few years later, more than 1 million trees had been planted in nearly 100 countries. Just some information about trees around the world. A huge number of trees are cut down around the world every day. Trees of all shapes and sizes form a vital part of the habitats of many of the world's creatures. Trees are cut down to make room for farmland and housing or to harvest the wood. Humans take oxygen in from the air and get rid of carbon dioxide, but trees do the opposite. Without them, we wouldn't be able to breathe. Felix adds the last bits of soil around a tree he just planted. Name: Felix Finkbeiner. Country: Germany. Changemaker for global reforestation. This is Felix right here. It's a picture of Felix right there. I'm resourceful enough to reduce traffic pollution. The traffic outside Himanji's school in India became such a problem that the 9-year-old took action and started a campaign to encourage people to cycle instead of drive. She also organized better places for cars and rickshaws to wait so that children could leave school safely. Other local schools were so impressed with her ideas, they started using them as well. If everybody uses a car, traffic jams build up quickly in areas with lots of homes and workplaces. People can get hurt trying to move safely among the vehicles, and accidents can happen. Walking and cycling are great ways to reduce both air pollution and the amount of traffic on the road. The exhaust fumes given off by cars, vans, and trucks create air pollution, which can cause health problems. In some towns and cities, air pollution can get so bad that scientists say it isn't safe for people to go outside. Himanji waves goodbye to her friends as she walks home from school. Name: Himanji Halder. Country: India. Changemaker for reducing the effects of traffic pollution. So, let me see. Right there, Himanji. We are smart enough to stop buying single-use plastic. That's something I'm trying to stop doing too. After learning about the negative effects of plastic waste, British sisters Amy, 16, and Ella, 14, set up a charity to share their knowledge and get people involved in their work. They inform others about how we can replace single-use plastic bottles with reusable alternatives. They've created a website with lots of useful resources, as well as an app to track plastic litter. And they've persuaded many schools, businesses, and city councils to make positive changes in how they use plastic. Bigger plastic items like bottles end up in landfill sites. Lots of plastic items can easily be swapped for more environmentally friendly alternatives, like using beeswax wrap instead of plastic wrap to keep food safe. Amy and Ella explain how a reusable bottle is so much better than a plastic one. Much smaller plastic items such as microbeads found in things like shampoo can end up in the ocean and be swallowed by fish, making them sick. Everyday items are made from plastic, but they can be difficult to recycle. Some plastic items might not even need a replacement. More and more supermarkets are selling loose products with no packaging, and customers fill up their own jars and bags to take them home. Name: Amy and Ella Meek. Country: the United Kingdom. Changemaker for the elimination of single-use plastics. Like I told you, I'm trying to do the same thing. So, right here, these two young ladies, Amy and Ella. I'm powerful enough to preserve the environment. Flooding was wreaking havoc in Indonesia, where Adeline lives, as a result of humans destroying the natural environment. At the age of 12, she formed a community group called Friends of Nature to address the cause of these disasters. She organized people to replant the native mangrove trees that had been cut down and to create protected areas in the sea to allow new coral reefs to form. She also spent time educating others about the impact of human activity on the world around us. Cutting down trees means that rainwater can flow freely over the land and become a flood. Changing the natural environment can have serious consequences for plants, animals, and humans. Dumping toxic waste in the ocean can cause coral reefs to die away. Biodiversity is a word to describe having a wide variety of plants and animals in any given habitat, which is very important for keeping our environment healthy. Overfishing can destroy biodiversity in our oceans. Adeline supports a newly planted tree with care. Name: Adeline Tiffany Suwana. Country: Indonesia. Changemaker for biodiversity and the reintroduction of native plant species. And here is Adeline. I'm compassionate enough to protect animals. When he found out about an abandoned baby rhino, Hunter donated his pocket money to help the people looking after it, even though he was only 7 at the time. He persuaded lots of other people in his home country, South Africa, to give money toward caring for rhinos as well. He now talks to people all over the world about how important it is to look after all wildlife and prevent endangered species from becoming extinct. Rhinos are critically endangered species, which means they are at an extremely high risk of extinction, meaning there won't be any more of them. Rhinos are being hunted because people want to take their horns. Some of these people believe that rhinos' horns are useful for making medicine, while others think they are a sign of wealth and success. Hunter spends time with the rhinos he has helped to rescue. When a species becomes extinct, it means that there are no more of them left in the wild. Some people are so eager to get rhinos' horns that they kill rhinos illegally, which is called poaching. Name: Hunter Mitchell. Country: South Africa. Changemaker 4: protecting endangered species. Wow, at 7 years old? And now he talks to people all over the world? There's Hunter right there. To be a change maker at 7 years old. I'm creative enough to stamp out litter. Brooklyn from Georgia was 7 years old when she wrote a book called The Adventures of Earth Saver Girl to teach people about why litter is a problem. She visits schools to talk about her book and entertains children with songs and plays to show that saving the environment can also be fun. Litter is a problem that most of us encounter every day. We might see food wrappers dropped in the street or spot old bottles floating in a river. Litter spoils how our environment looks, but it can also damage the plants and animals that live around us if it doesn't biodegrade. So that means if it doesn't break down, kind of like how food breaks down when it gets moldy and it starts getting all squishy and stuff. Most litter doesn't break down. So when it doesn't break down, it can damage the environment. When something biodegrades, it decays naturally over time and is absorbed by the environment without causing any harm. Synthetic materials like plastic, some rubber, and nylon can take hundreds of years to disappear completely. So litter containing items made of these is a much bigger problem. Natural materials like food waste will biodegrade completely within a few months. Brooklyn is dressed as Earth Saver Girl, encouraging her friends to join her. Name: Brooklyn Wright. Country: the United States of America. Changemaker 4: reducing litter pollution. I do not like littering at all. I do not like it. My students can tell you. So, right here with the cape on, that is Brooklyn. All right, so I think we may have time for one more. Let me check. We may have time for one more. Okay, we do. One more. I'm inspired enough to eat locally grown food. Vincent, an 11-year-old from France, recognized the environmental impact of large-scale farming and secured funding to set up an organic community garden in his village. He believed this would encourage his friends and neighbors to consider food production more carefully and to take some responsibility for how their food was grown. His project has been very successful and has now expanded to include a beehive and a greenhouse. It has also brought people in his community closer together. Many large farms spray chemicals on their plants to help them grow, as well as to kill weeds and insects. Growing food close to where it will be eaten means it doesn't have to be transported a long way in refrigerated trucks or airplanes. These vehicles use fuels that harm the environment. Eating fresh food that has recently been picked avoids the need for lots of packaging and storage, and reduces food waste. Organic farms don't use chemicals on their plants and rely on natural methods to keep their crops healthy. If you've grown your own food, you know that it will taste good in any shape or size. That is the truth. It does. Vincent picks an apple from a tree in his garden. Name: Vincent de Pear. Country: France. Changemaker 4: organic gardening as a way to produce food and reduce waste. Good job, Vincent. Where's Vincent? Vincent, wait a minute. Right here. The one picking the apple. That's Vincent. Well, we will get to the rest of our change makers on our next broadcast. But I love this book. We've had change makers who were 7 years old. 7. I'm old enough to save the planet. You absolutely are. Or to do any other thing where you want to help others. You can be a change maker at any age, 7 years old, and you don't need a lot of money. The one change maker, 7 years old, used his pocket change and said, listen, I want to give you my pocket change so that you can help the rhinos and keep them safe. That is amazing. Now that makes me think of what can I do to be a change maker? I think Miss Hope's reading hour is a start, but there are other things I can do, okay? All right, now let us get to Patina. Let's get to Patina. Oh, Patina, you ain't no junk, ma'am. By Jason Reynolds. So, last week, we're getting down to the wire, y'all. Because the chapters were a little longer, I was like, it's going to take a lot longer to read this. No, it is not. Look at how much we've read so far. Look at that. That's how much we've read so far. And this is it, y'all. This is all we have to go. Okay. So we were in chapter 8. Let me see if that's where we were in chapter 8. Oh, no, we were in chapter 9. Okay. So Patina finally made it over to Becca's house for them to work on the Frida Kahlo project. Now, Patina and TNT went over to Becca's house. They had to get in Momley's car because it was raining cats and ducks. But Patina was embarrassed. She was a little embarrassed that they had to be cramped in the back seat of Momley's car. But they made it over to Becca's house, which is right across the street from the school. She lives with her grandmother, and her parents are always at work. But the house is grand, okay? Now, they make it up to Becca's room to find out that it is all black. Everything, the bed, the walls, the curtains. TNT and Patina were a little weirded out by it. But finally TNT said, Becca, what's up with the black? We didn't think you were into the goth stuff. But then she says, you want to know what's up with the black? She closes her curtains, cuts off the light, and then the night sky appears in her room. She's interested in the stars and constellations, which is why her room is black, for no other reason. Now they get to working on the project. Let's see what happens now that they've gotten past the whole all black thing. Chapter 9. Let me get comfortable, friends, because I want to see what's going to happen. Chapter 9 of Patina. Patty Ain't No Junk by Jason Reynolds. Let's see where we stopped. I ain't never seen all these stars up there. I mean, I seen a few, but not like this. They're all up there, each one connected to another in some weird way. It's amazing. Wild, I corrected her. Not that wild, she corrected my correction. At least not to me. My folks are rocket scientists. This is pretty much as normal as it gets in this house. Rocket scientists? Taylor finally found her words again. Well, they're really called astronautical engineers. Basically the same thing. That's a real job? TT came right behind her. I can't front. I was thinking the exact same thing. I hope so. If not, I don't know where my parents are all the time. Becca laughed, but only a little. There was something about her face in that moment that was weird, like something invisible was pinching her underarm. I knew that face. I saw it in Ghost. And some people say they saw it in me. Shoot, it was probably the face I made at lunch. The might be sick face. So I pointed at a cluster to my left. Becca hopped up. Oh, that looks like Pegasus. And that did it. No more Frida. Becca was off, spazzing around her room, pointing out different star clusters and planets, explaining why we can't see all of them where we live, straight up nerding out. And I was into it. But I guess TNT, not so much. They were basically just sitting there texting. And I figured they were texting each other, talking trash about it all. But when Taylor blurted out, "My mother's here," I realized who they were really texting. Already? Becca asked, still not tripping about the way the girls had treated her. It was like nothing really bothered her, which I admired. But you didn't even have any cookies. No, that's okay, TT said, as if the cookies were going to be black too. Honestly, I was so caught up in her room that I'd forgotten all about the cookies. Yeah, it's cool. We just have to go. Sorry, Taylor said, not seeming sorry at all. Well, let me walk you down, Becca insisted. I checked the time and knew that the 2-hour mark was coming. And one thing about Momly was she was never late. She was the most on-time person in the world, so it made sense for me to head downstairs too. And halfway down the fancy round and round steps with the crystal chandelier hanging over us like ice frozen in the air, my phone buzzed. It was Momly. She was here. Becca opened the door, and Maddie was outside talking to someone. Miss S., what are you doing here? Maddie squealed. As me, Becca, Taylor, and TT came through the door, Maddie was standing at the passenger side window of another car in the driveway, the one that came for TNT. At least I thought it had come for TNT, but why would Maddie's teacher be here for them? I'm here to pick up my daughter, Taylor. What daughter? Taylor? And this is my sister, Mrs. Dorsey. She teaches at the school too, 4th grade. Hi, Madison. I've heard so much about you. Hopefully, you'll be in my class in a few years. Wait a minute. Taylor Stein, T.T. Dorsey, bestie cousin sisters, and daughters of, no way, teachers? Teachers. Well, TNT, regular girls. I looked up at the queen hair flippers, and guess what? They wouldn't look at me. Just shot off the step and trotted over to the car. And that's when I knew that they were caught. Gotcha. I could tell they knew what I was thinking. They knew I knew they'd been fronting all this time. Ain't no teachers rich, and I knew that because at Barnaby they told us all the time, they don't pay me enough to teach you and babysit you. Now I got why TNT were acting all weird in Becca's house, taking selfies at the piano and all that. Chandelier shots for days. I turned back to Becca. It was like she hadn't even noticed. She just waved at them, while at the same time Maddie waved me over. Patty, it's my teacher, Mrs. S, she said as I walked toward the car. I see. Hi, Mrs. S. I tried to keep my cool. Happy early birthday. Taylor says y'all got plans tomorrow. Hope you have a great time. And before I got in the car, I looked up at the sky. Still cloudy, but I looked for stars anyway. Of course, I didn't see none, but now for some reason, it felt good just knowing there were more up there than I'd ever known. Chapter 10. To do. Be introduced to Momly. Like, for real. I had never talked so much at dinner, but I was going on about Becca's house, how beautiful it all was, and how Becca's room was nothing like I expected. Stars everywhere. It was like being at the science center or something, I explained. And did y'all know rocket scientists are real? Momly laughed and Uncle Tony joked me, talking about it don't take a rocket scientist to know rocket scientists are real, Patty. I admit he got me. I tried to explain to Maddie what constellations were, telling her they were stars connected in the sky to make pictures. She said her teacher told them about constellations before, which of course made me go in on her teacher's daughters, Boney McPhony and her cousin Lila. All this time I'd been thinking about Taylor and TT like they were some kind of royalty, when really they were just regular girls pretending to be something they're not. Cornballs. But you don't know. Maybe they have fathers that are doing well, Momly suggested, her voice tired. Come on, babe, Uncle Tony cut in. If I hit it big, you think I'd decide to be around all them snotty noses? Matter of fact, snotty noses every day? Then he quickly added, not you, Maddie. And I'm not trying to be mean, but come on, y'all know what I'm saying. Well, how exactly do you plan on hitting it big? Momly threw in one of her zings that sound too sweet to be a zing, which makes it even zingier. Oh, I yelped, just to get Uncle Tony back for this rocket scientist burn. And also, Momly added, Tony, you know me better than that. There's nothing I love more than a snotty nose, snotty or not. After dinner, I wanted to help Momly with the dishes, sensing how tired she was. Uncle Tony had cleared the table and was now helping Maddie to get ready for bed. She was probably talking his ear off about going to the farm in the morning. I couldn't wait to hear what she thought of it, only because I remember when I went. Every school in the city goes to the same one. Maybe it's because they got so many cows, and that's cool, but milking cows might have been the grossest thing I've ever done. I mean, yeah, it's up there. I ran the water in the sink. Oh, don't worry about the dishes, Patty. I'll take care of them in a minute, Momley said, now bending down, sweeping nothing into a dustpan. I got it. No, it's okay, she insisted. But I already but I was already squirting green liquid soap on everything. Seriously, it's fine. I can do it. Momley didn't say nothing to that. Just emptied the dustpan in the trash, then put the broom back in the kitchen closet. She snatched a hand towel from the oven handle. Then I'll dry. I scrubbed each plate, then handed it over to Momley, who wiped it, then put it back in the cabinet. We did this over and over again with dishes and silverware until there was nothing left but cups. I just can't believe those girls, I went on, handing Momley a glass. Just couldn't get over it. I can, she set the glass down. I knew lots of girls like that. Shoot, I was almost one of them. I ran water in the last glass, then turned the faucet off. What do you mean? I asked, handing her the final cup. I mean, I remember when I first went to that school, to Chester. She dried the glass and set it on the counter. Then she folded the towel into a square, placed it on the counter as well. Wait, you went there? Momley smirked. Yeah, a long time ago. I told you that. Had she? I didn't remember ever talking to her about going to Chester. Actually, if I'm being honest, I don't really remember talking to Momley about anything. At least not about her. Didn't realize that until that moment. I mean, maybe you did, but I don't remember. Uh-huh. Well, in case you missed it, I grew up in the country, not too far from the farm I have to drive Maddie to tomorrow morning. And when I was 10, my parents split up, and my father pretty much disappeared. My mother had to figure out how to support us now that we were on our own, so she ended up applying to be the custodian at Chester Academy. And because she was an employee, I got to go there for free. I had no idea. I mean, about any of it. I didn't know Momley went to Chester. I didn't know her mom was a janitor. Did you like it there? She yelped, then continued, No, 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 no. Shoot. The only reason we sent you and Maddie there is because I know the education is excellent. But for me, I couldn't stand it. Not at first. I mean, listen, I'm a poor girl from the sticks who ended up in a fancy city school. And what made it worse was after class, I couldn't just go home like everyone else. I had to hang around with my mother, help her clean floors and bleach toilets. Of course, eventually my classmates found out, and then the jokes started. They called me names like Emily Mop Bucket, stuff like that. A few of the girls would even purposely leave trash around or spit their gum out on the floor because they knew after school my mother and I would have to clean it. Stupid hair flippers, I murmured, chewing on the words. What? Nothing. Just did it like, did it ever get better? Better? Momley humphed. Eventually, I mean, first I tried to fit in, tried to find another poor kid to pick on to take the attention off me. But all the kids I went to tease ended up becoming my friends. And after that, school got better for a while. But there were other things that happened that made it tough again. Uh-oh. Other things like what? I asked. Momley crossed her arms. Well, halfway through my 7th grade year, my mother had a massive stroke. The whole left side of her body was basically paralyzed, so she couldn't do the job anymore. Luckily, my grades were good, and they pitied me. So the school let me stay through the 8th grade for free. But that was hard. And Momly drew in a breath, then continued. And I didn't know how to deal with it, so I decided I would just keep doing her job, which I couldn't do because I was 12 years old. So obviously the school couldn't let me be the custodian. Plus, they had no idea I was helping my mother in the first place. So they ended up bringing on somebody else, a man named Mr. Warren. She paused, giving me a second to catch on. You mean Mr. Warren? Mr. Warren? Mr. Warren? Her favorite patient? Yup, Mr. Warren, Mr. Warren. I had never seen Mr. Warren, but in this moment, I wondered what he looked like back then. Probably real tall with big crusty hands, a rough beard, a beanie on his head, or one of them old men hats with the kangaroo on the back. Maybe even chewing on a straw or a toothpick, a fat wallet in his back pocket full of receipts and no money. Something like that. Like Coach, if Coach had hair on his face and was a janitor and was tall. So maybe not like Coach, but yeah. Mr. Warren had been the sweetest old man alive since back then, Momly continued. He'd let me show up for work with him after school, and he'd say I could sweep here or scrub there. Light work compared to what my mother and me had me doing, but it was all I needed to make me feel like I was honoring her, like I wasn't completely taking a handout. I nodded. All of this made perfect sense to me. But where was your mom? We had to put her in a home. I went to live with an older cousin who moved to the city for college. She was really too young to be taking care of me, but we didn't have any other family, so Mommy shrugged. Well, we learned some things about Momly today. As much as Patina felt like Momly did not have anything in common with her and what she was going through, she had a whole lot in common with her. And that is the reason why she was so open to have her and Maddie come live with Momly and Uncle Tony when her mom had to have her legs amputated due to diabetes. We are learning a whole lot about a lot of people. TNT, they are not rich and famous. I mean, they may have dads who are doing really well for themselves, but their mothers are teachers. So education is important in their household, and they are not the cats meow like they act like they are. Okay? Learning a lot about people. And Patina is learning a lot about people too, which might help her in dealing with the situation she's dealing with right now. Well, my friends, can you believe it? We are at the end of another Miss Hope's Reading Hour. So glad to have been with all of you today, this evening. So glad to have shared these wonderful books with you. And remember, you, no matter what age you are, can be a change maker. Think about the things in your community or in your life or in your school or in the lives of others that you would want to change. And you could probably do it, and it doesn't take a lot of money. Think about the 7-year-old who used pocket change to help rhinos in South Africa. Well, my friends, my young change makers, I look forward to seeing you again on Fabulous Friday. Unfortunately, I cannot be here on Wonderful Wednesday, but I'm going to see if I can work it out. Okay? Well, until then, my friends, thank you so much for being here. And I will see you next time on Miss Hope's Reading Hour. Until then, see you next time.